Well, hello, folks. Happy New Year. Yesterday I put up a fairly rambling bit when I was out riding my bicycle. God, why do I do that? Anyway, sometimes I think, well, it's kind of embarrassing, but I'll put it up anyway because, hey, that's what I did. Something embarrassing. Who cares? you know? So, I hope you guys had a fun New Year's Eve. Around here on New Year's, if you don't go to town, Lisboa, Porto have big, huge celebrations, Coimbra. Every big town like Caldas da Rainha and Nazaré and wherever have around here have fireworks displays and parties and lots of times music, concert shows. It's a lot of fun. Every village around where I am has fireworks. So in the evening, if you walk outside and just start walking around at around midnight on the ridges, the tops of the hills around here, you look 360 and you'll see fireworks blowing off in all these different villages. If you go to any particular village around here, there's going to be fireworks, and some obviously bigger than others depending on people's budgets in those places. I'm having my coffee. So, yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see the fireworks. We didn't do anything exciting or go to any parties or anything. There was a bonfire, which was fun. Hang out by a bonfire, people burning some wood that they'd taken out of their agricultural area. That was a lot of fun. So I got a message from a friend. Every once in a while, somebody will reach out and say Merry Christmas or Happy New Year. Not many, but a few people. And he wrote me a nice little note, and I appreciate it. I always appreciate it when somebody shares their ideas, thoughts, and feelings with me. I realize that sometimes when talking about politics or whatever, I can be a little bit snappy. Um, only with really, really close friends that I feel I can be snappy with, because it's just the way I am. It's like having an argument with a sibling. You still love each other afterwards, but it's unpleasant anyway. But I try with other people to keep my mouth shut and to communicate carefully and kindly with people when it comes to these issues, these political conversations and other things. So I think when a good trusted friend shares something with me, it's meaningful to me because I want to know what my true friends think and feel. And I feel special if they share things with me. So I'm sharing things like this, and nobody thinks it's special. I just do it because I want to. But with a real friend like your partner, your lover, your best friend, somebody close to you, someone you respect, when they share ideas, thoughts, and feelings with you, don't you feel kind of good, special? Because, hey, they're opening up to you. Isn't that nice? So I always appreciate that. So I wrote back a note and basically touched on a few things like I appreciate, you're opening up to me. I said that I am trying to figure out how not to notice 2025. This year I really have to be careful and not pay as much attention to current events because nothing I write or say or learn in 2025 is going to make any difference whatsoever in my own particular worldview or understanding of how things work, or for anybody else's for that matter. And I'm certainly not going to be a subversive or a revolutionary or make any big difference. I have zero power, so I'm not going to delude myself. Most of the things people talk about on the webs and the blogs, they might be insightful and they might be informative, and you might learn something from them, or they might be meaningful to you, but at the end of the day, they don't translate into any action. So 2025 is going to be rinse and repeat. Only this year, every year in the States, we have a delusions in chief for president, and these people, you know how I think about them. Anyway, I can't remember a good president, really. I mean, nowadays I can't look back and say that. But now we have a really delusional delusions in chief. And all the minions that support him, all the little demons, the little devils that support him and that feed him ideas and manipulate him and whatever, consult him, advise him, his staff, his donors, they're all sick, in my opinion. I hate to say that because it sounds so stupid to just blanketly think that everybody's pathological, but I do believe that our crypto-religious, or however you want to say it, proto-religious, ideological bent, how we've been trained to think and what we've been trained to believe. Just like training a dog or training a robot, we are very susceptible to this. After having read America at Midnight again, you realize that none of this that we're experiencing now is new. It's amazing how with just a little monetary compensation and ideological training, you can convince people to commit all manner of violence and horror against one another without even blinking. And they don't even have to do much mental gymnastics to justify it, They just take it for granted that they're on the right side. And all you have to do is, pay a union buster a week's wage, and he'll go out and lynch somebody for you. And a good case in point is, one of the reasons why the Russians government can recruit so many Russians to join the military and fight in Ukraine is because they compensate their soldiers well. There's signing bonuses, and bonuses if you get hurt, bonuses if you take a village and blow up a tank, and they get paid really well compared to Ukrainians. So if you're from especially a poorer, less fortunate, less wealthy region of Russia, that money means a lot to you, especially if you have a family. They'll give your kids free education, health care, all this kind of stuff. So there are benefits to fighting. Like it or not, that's just the way people are, There are mercenaries that go and fight just for the money. There are all these private militias, not just the Wagner group that is infamous now because of the war in Ukraine, but all the ones in the United States. The Academy. They all have these weird euphemistic names that are really creepy. But anyway, there's lots of them, and this has been around for a long, long time. And it's just, it's fascinating to me that I call it the great game. Some people say it's not a game, man, it's existential. Well, of course, it always is. And the great game isn't limited to, this region. I forgot what they called it back in the day, but it includes Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran, that region, and Russia and Britain were struggling over influence there. Eventually Britain came out on top and lorded over Afghanistan for a while, which was important to trade back then. And since the Europeans launched their imperial and colonial projects centuries ago, during all these ages I keep talking about, age of discovery and whatnot. Um, they've been conquering and taking possession of places to increase the power of their sovereign or their state or whatever. These borders of nation states are very arbitrary, and the winners draw the borders, or the people who are in control, the empires. You know that story. Anyway, it goes way back, so none of this is new, and it's going to continue. The difference is that now you have the most powerful empire in history, and yeah, definitively so. It's not a stretch. If you're going to call some student a neo-Marxist or whatever, you can call America an empire. Oh, as another caveat, back in the day, in the Wilsonian era, the Wilson presidency, World War I and after, when J. Edgar Hoover was, kicking wobbly ass, and you have to study J. Edgar Hoover to understand concepts of the deep state and whatever. Unelected institutions with a lot of power. Anyway, they hated the Russians. Hating Russians goes back centuries, and in particular, Red Scares go back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries and just continue unabated. If Russia couldn't make peace with the West, if it was Jesus Christ, if it was the savior of the world, we'd still hate Russia in the West. We need Russia as a powerful enemy just to keep our business model going. So that's been around a long time. The difference now is that, going back to what I started with, America is a powerful empire, and it's on its last legs. Its power is going to wane, it's going to fizzle, because cheap energy is becoming more and more scarce, hard to get to. Energy return on investment is not a good calculation anymore. So the struggle to control resources around the world, globally, worldwide, is going to be intense, because you won't be able to get the cheap shale oil or fracking or things like that anymore. America needs lots of energy to run its empire, to run its military-industrial complex, to maintain economic growth. This whole sick pathological paradigm I was talking about. They need this stuff, and they're going to fight for it, and they don't want anyone else to have it. So it is a commons issue. It is a parable of tribes. It is multipolar traps. It is all of those things and more, and we're stuck in it. And there's no way they can see outside that well. They're myopic, they're zeroed in, and they're going to play this horrific, destructive game. They're going to play it out to the end, which means that things are going to get uglier year on year, unfortunately. I can't see a path to peace personally, but maybe that's just my own limitations in my understanding of things, my reading and my imagination and my knowledge of geopolitics and the human nature and whatnot. So I just say this one bit here that I shared with my friend. Uncle Sam is the most terrifying mob boss ever. The U.S. is an evil empire, and I mean that. I see it more clearly living in Europe. I spent a lot of time in Asia, as I've said. I see it more now. Maybe it's my age or circumstances, but from where I sit now, I see it more clearly than I ever have. So, Uncle Sam is an evil empire. I wish sometimes that I hadn't learned this, like ignorance is bliss. Sometimes I wish I didn't have this worldview, and I could go back to being 25, 35, 40 years old and just thinking about, all the wonderful things I'm going to do and doing and having fun and all that. I was so lucky and innocent in a way because I was so privileged in so many ways. And the world was just my oyster. It was a playground. I was just having a wonderful time growing within it. And I was lucky. Not as lucky as some. I never got super rich. I tried, but luckier than a lot of other people, than most, I guess, in the world. Maybe I can say that honestly if you look at the whole, but maybe not. I don't know how people in Kazakhstan live. A good life in Kazakhstan, what's that like? A good life in Botswana, what's that like? I don't know, but I guess I've been pretty fortunate because people still want to go to America for some reason. I understand why they want to go. But anyway, I wish sometimes I had learned this. Uncle Sam reminds me of the monster in Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, a Twilight Zone episode with William Shatner. That came out a long time ago in the 60s, I think. And
Honey, don't smoke that now. Wait till the plane takes off.
Fasten your seatbelt, sir.
There's a man out there. Would you wake up, please, honey?
What are you looking at?
Gremlins. Don't look. He's not there now. He jumps away whenever anyone might see him. Hurry! Hurry! What's going on? He's pulling up one of the cowling plates. He did pull it up.
It's all right now, darling.
I know. But I'm the only one who does know. Right now.
yeah, they put it in the movie too with William Shatner in the movie decades later. And both are great. Great. You should look them up on YouTube. I put a link. I'll put a link on it, or I'll put it in this video. There's something on the wing, something, William Shatner says, his character in that scene. He's on an airplane, he's looking out the window. The monster rips at the cowling plates and throws objects into the engine. Shatner is sitting there watching in horror and unable to do anything. The dialogue perfectly characterizes peak denial before panic sets in when people finally realize modernity is crashing. So yeah, it's very interesting. He's the only one that can see it. It's like I had to do it because I was the only one who could see it. But you'll see it soon, God, what can I say? That's how I feel. I may be delusional, I may be wrong, but that's what I think. I can see the crash. I can see modernity crashing. A lot of other people can too, but the vast majority of people can't. especially in the wealthy West, the wealthier segments of the West. It's not easy to notice for people who are well off. Things are pretty damn good. I just fight with my partner too much, or whatever. I lost the squash match tournament. Terrible things like that happen. So I also go on to say, if we are we insane if we think the USA is an evil empire? If someone had assassinated Hitler back in the day, his only possible defense could have been innocent by reason of insanity. Like Hitler, only Uncle Sam can kill Uncle Sam. What more will burn before Sam finally takes his own life? Uncle Sam is like a child molester and serial killer who is the head preacher in a traveling evangelical show. No one, not even his victims, think he's evil, and so he gets away with his crimes, lives to be 100 and dies of pneumonia. Sam will only shoot himself if he knows he's going to be caught after his final desperate rampage. Uncle Sam is on his final rampage, which should motivate people to do something, but they still haven't noticed, despite the experiences we have all had since the 1960s. So, yeah, I think it's been a rampage since after World War II, actually. The Cold War was a convenient stop gap or whatever for a while. It allowed us to make this iron wall between these two cultures, and we could fight proxy wars on the outskirts, and most of them were horrific and terrible during the Cold War. But they didn't end after the end of history, like Francis Fukuyama coined, or I don't know if he coined the phrase, but puts in his book, The End of History. It didn't end. It just shifted and moved on, and it's being fought asymmetrically on social media and with new technologies like drones and hypersonic, kinetic, destructive missile systems and whatnot. So, the rampage continues, and America can't shift gears because violence is in America's DNA. I use Uncle Sam, obviously, metaphorically. There's this, I think it's pathological obsession with violence, individuality, and other things in the United States, in the culture, and I don't see people getting out of it. I remember the dawning of the age of Aquarius and, reading all kinds of wonderful things before I was 30. And the world was just headed towards a beautiful place, peace and beauty and prosperity for everyone. And growing up abroad and being in China for a long time, I saw progress, right? But progress isn't what I thought it was. It's not some teleological line from beginning to end where everything ends up, triumphantly. It's not like that. So I'm stuck looking at these cycles now. There's another book I'm going to read. I've read, but I'm going to listen to the audio book version of it. I'll talk about that some other time. But it deals with these cycles and with power, Again, it's about these people like Evola and Carlyle and whatnot. That doesn't mean I'm a reactionary or a conservative. It just means that it's important for us to look at the world from a perspective of what power means and who wields it. And it's not you. This idea of democracy, like this thing, this individual democracy thing exists and makes a big difference, is just not true. In some circumstances, in some situations, in contexts, in some moments, periods of history, it's had a good influence. I think democratic structures are generally can be very good, but in reality, it doesn't work the way we think it works. There are powerful players always behind the scenes, making things run. And today, it's in your face, you know, the oligarchs and the plutocrats and the con men and the shysters and the scam artists and the, you know, the warmongering, you know, killers are right there, you know, on TV, on the social media 24/7, spouting their disgusting, horrific, diseased nonsense. And we just go along with it because we're used to it. That's another aspect of hyper normalization, where we are just so accustomed to seeing it, you know, Overton window kind of things, or moving the goalpost or whatever. They've been messed with so many times over such a long period of time that we don't notice it anymore. You know, somebody could pick your pocket, say, I'm gonna pick your pocket now, and you're just like, oh yeah, whatever. So, yeah, we're in this final desperate rampage, and I'm saying I'm tired of keeping track of all this because it doesn't make any difference, right? I think that I mentioned in here, I think that Americans in particular, the only way you can maintain your innocence when you become aware of the destructive elements of your culture is to try to remain a child, because only children are innocent, right? The adults create hell on earth. The adults create all the nonsense and destructive things. Adults also do beautiful things. I'm not saying they don't. People are people. We judge people individually. Sometimes we have to judge them on their actions, not just their character. And sometimes we have to judge their culture, you know, their beliefs and so on. Unfortunately, that's what an adult has to do. But adults in the States in particular, less so in Portugal, less so in Japan, less so in China and other parts of the world, are just infantile. You know, they do everything they can to maintain their innocence like a child. I think Donald Trump is childish. I think so many people in the States that we follow and believe in are childish people. And so it's a Peter Pan syndrome problem, and we have our Stockholm syndrome problem as well. You know, we've just identified with our captors, you know. So these fantasies have to be overcome if we're going to get out of our predicament, and I don't see anything trending that way in terms of mass action or cultural shift, paradigm shift, whatever you want to call it. Uncle Sam isn't a scapegoat either. You can't blame Uncle Sam for everything wrong with modern techno-industrial, financialized, neoliberal, fossil-fueled, late-stage civilization. During early modernity, Europeans started the end times rolling with their imperial ambition, conquests for resources, and colonial projects to secure trade routes and access to commodities. Enslaved peoples transmorgified into liquid gold. So yeah, the energy became a big deal in the 19th century, fossil fuels. And now it's a big deal, bigger than ever, because we're slowly but surely running out of it. It's a finite resource. And the emissions from it are destructive to the environment. So are we going to have habitable spaces in the future? I don't know. So Uncle Sam will end Western civilization, though, because growth means more war, and wasting more of our limited fossil fuel resources on omnicidal competition rather than on building a healthier culture for posterity. Now, all of this is fine for now because we don't have to worry about posterity. You have grandchildren, that's all you care about. But when the panic mode hits, and it might hit tomorrow, the next day, in 5 years, in 6, 10, I don't know, but it's not going to be comfy for anybody. And we're not investing in limiting the negative consequences of this pathological game people in power are playing and have always been playing since the dawn of civilization. What hurts me most is that Sam has the power and resources to transform civilization into something habitable, healthier, and more just. But people's lust for profit or the stress of survival blinds them. The propaganda machine has domesticated Americans. Buy this, sell that, just believe, watch this. We're messaged to 24/7 from everywhere, conditioned to do what we do and believe what we believe. And we're getting less and less capable of questioning our own thoughts and ideas, which is unfortunate in modern times. I mean, in the old days, you didn't question the religion, you just went along with it. And you did what you did according to your station. If you were a tenant farmer, a serf, or whatever, a slave, these are just, it's fate. It's just what happened to you. And, maybe some gladiator might revolt, but those were few and far between, or maybe not necessarily. Maybe there's more revolts than we know, but they were put down so quickly we didn't notice them. But anyway, the ultimate message to you and yours and your friends and everybody is to do what you love and what you enjoy doing, and love your loved ones in new and different and special ways if you can. If you can slow down and think what little thing might make one of your friends happier or healthier or feel more loved and appreciated. Hopefully we'll do that for each other in the next few years. It doesn't hurt to know that today is the best day. Nothing's going to get better than this. At the end of the day, I think that the only thing that makes things better than today is learning how great nature works, big nature, instead of big gods, instead of big business, instead of big belief. It's fascinating to learn how nature works. You are part and parcel of nature, regardless of all the stories. Pick and choose the stories that inspire you, that are meaningful to you, that make you feel something special. But, all of that with a grain of salt, because there's all kinds of stories. Sometimes people say that, Shakespeare covered all the story types, or whatever. There's tragedy, comedy, drama, whatever. And there are certain structures to every story. The hero's journey, Joseph Campbell, people like that. And so all the stories have been told, they're just being retold in different ways, right? And they have different cultures, different shapes, different sounds, different languages, and so on. But they're basically all the same human stories, right? So appreciate them and take them all with a grain of salt. It's just, we're storytelling animals. That's what we do. We make sense of things, and then we tell stories about our lives, our own life, and everything else. But we can also use science, engineering, technology, mathematics, telescopes, other tools, computers, whatever, the Large Hadron Collider, to learn about nature, how nature works. The space station, the International Space Station, my God. The Hubble Space Telescope, these things that people do together collaboratively to learn about how nature works. Isn't that beautiful? And we don't have to kill each other. We can spend time learning about the mysteries of nature. We'll never know it all, ever. It's beyond our capacity, I do believe, but we can learn a lot if we can survive, if our species can continue. Anyway, next year, forget about our species. If you learn something new about nature, I tell you, I think you'll find that exciting, and it'll take your mind off the shit show and all the political crap that's, dished out at us by clowns and pathological deluded lunatics. So learn from big nature, not big gods, not big business, and I think you'll be happier. That's my advice anyway. We don't need hopium. If we understand reality, it's not that scary. And actually facing reality and understanding reality, having a reality-based worldview in terms of evidence-based and other things, just to understanding the nature of things as best you can, isn't that scary. It's not going to ruin your day. And it builds agency. It gives you the capability to make better choices in your life, which is wonderful, I think, and important for all of us moving forward. So we don't need hopium, what we need to do is nurture our purpose, do what we love, and do what we can. Not all of us have the ability to do certain things, so do what you can. All of us can do something. So when you look at a big project, like I was watching that 866 movie on Netflix about the only WAC Women's Army Corps that went to Europe during World War II, and they went there to sort out the mail so that soldiers could send mail back home and tell their families they were okay or whatever, and the families could send care packages and messages from home. And that was a huge morale booster, and if you have higher morale, you can fight better, so it's important. It was kind of a Hallmark kind of movie, but it was okay. It's conventionally structured, but it is a true story. And these ladies got together, worked hard, came up with really innovative solutions to how to get the mail delivered. Very ingenious. And they all contributed in different ways because they all were educated women who had different backgrounds, different skills and abilities and outlooks. And that in concert, in teamwork, came up with solutions that were vital to the U.S. effort in Europe in World War II. So, 36 minutes, I better go. I just want to say, have a loving 2025, sorry. And stay safe and healthy, and keep a good sense of humor, sense of irony. Don't worry about these trigger warnings. You can take it. I saw another weird article where they were saying that the American University or Greek University or American University in Greece or something issued a trigger warning for studying Greek mythology because of the feminist issues and violence and so on. Oh my God. I mean, I just find that so absurd. You got to grow up and be a strong person. You need to be resilient because the future is not going to be as easy as the last 50 years. Even if we come up with mini fusion reactors that you could put in your basement, we still live on a finite, in a finite world, on a planet that has a finite of everything, including its atmosphere and whatnot. We can't live like we're living now. It's unsustainable. What a cliche, but it is. It's a self-terminating culture that ends in disaster, and we are in overshoot now. So the infinite stuff is the love you can share with your friends. So listen to some good music, take a long walk today. This is the best day, the best day. Take good care. Bouillon tea.